So guys, how's that? Kind of good? Did you enjoy that? I had a chat with a few of you and watched some of you do your work. And I noticed something interesting, which is one or two of you, you decided you want to go off-piste on the skiing and do your own thing, which is great. And the beauty is you adapted the pattern perfectly to fit what it is you wanted to do, which is great. Because in order to do that, you need to know what you're doing, even though you thought you didn't. So those of you who did it end up having a great experience and something very valuable for what we're about to go on to. Those of you who did something slightly different, following the same steps but maybe adapting them to fit what the partner wanted out of it, well, you're doing what hypnotists do, which is you're doing what needs to be done rather than following, but the steps said you've got to do this, right? You're following the experience and making that match whatever it is that needs to happen. So, congratulations. Now, there is someone who wants to share a story from this morning. There you go, over here. Can we have the microphone over that side?
I just want everybody to know that you can really use this stuff in real life experience. We went down to the bar last night and sitting there having a couple of drinks, and I met a gentleman from Houston, and we just sat and had a nice conversation for about 30 minutes. And he did most of the talking. I just kind of agreed with him and really built some rapport with him, and found after a few minutes we were actually matched breathing and everything was going fantastic. But after a few minutes of really talking to him and using some of the language that we use here in the room, he had an emotional breakthrough and actually started crying at the bar. And he works with billionaires, doing financing, different things. And he said he's traveled all over the world, and he had never had a conversation that touched him as much as the one we had sitting at that bar. And he's invited to fly me down to Houston to do some work with him there, as well as some of his friends. But I just want you to know that you can really, when you sit down and you use the H+, and you really have the intent of really putting something positive on somebody, that it can happen for you right there in the middle of a conversation, because it did last night, and it was really wonderful just to see the man, and he had such a breakthrough, just the tears streaming down his face, and he said, I don't know what you just did to me, but it was amazing, and I just really want to thank you for it. So
that's what conversation hypnosis looks like. I think that deserves a great big round of applause. And I love when people say these sort of things, because then you guys realize it's not just some seminar trick. You're doing it in real life, right? I mean, as far as that guy's concerned, I don't know if you have any training previously before this, but as far as he's concerned, you've been doing this for 10 years, another Buddha incarnate, right? And this is what we end up doing. This is what we can do with the tools that you've got. And the more you get used to them, the more conversation you can do it, the more that sort of thing will happen to you. Not necessarily just people streaming in tears, because that's just one version of releasing or one version of going through a block, but things that aren't normally possible for people are possible around you. And that's what I hope you take away from this. When you have your integrity, when you have your intent right, and the language skills and the little vehicles you have along the way, those are just support mechanisms. When you have everything right and you use those experiences, then stuff like that happens to you as a almost routine thing. And I think it's charming. I think this is where hypnosis really becomes a force for good. So I didn't even know that story, so thanks for sharing that. There's a comment over here. Go ahead.
I had an interesting experience during this where the person I was working with just, we'd connected, the sense of excitement, and had the loop. And he says, so just go ahead and loop it. So I kind of looped it. And they said, now loop it more. And I said, what the heck? And it was like there was a blender there, and I flipped the switch, and it just went, and I looped it like 20 times in about a second, which that's all I needed. It was great.
How do you feel now?
I feel great.
Fantastic, right? So you guys are doing it. You're coming up. You see, you're beginning to understand things like symbolic logic, not in a mathematical sense, but in the sense of, if you can do it slowly, you can do it more quickly, and that's a symbol to have a better experience, right? It's not rocket science, but it's second nature to you guys now, and this is why this is one of my favorite days. Just I like the third day because people's minds explode. I like this day because it all comes back together again. It's kind of like a Big Bang contraction, whatever. Go ahead.
Well, I'm telling the story for Leonie, actually, because she's a little shy. What I experienced last night in the restaurant, we were leaving, and there was this woman in a rolling chair.
Okay.
And she asked us back, where you're from, so we start talking, what we're doing here, so we talked about what we're doing here. So I tried to trick, get your mind to show what's going on, and she wouldn't go for it, because she said, I don't trust people, you understand? And,
That's fair enough.
so that's fair enough, right? So we left it there, but then we started to talk about something, and Leonie took over, and this woman nearly raised, she stood up in her chair nearly, she was a little spastic, but she was so excited, she stood up, like that. So it was unbelievable. It was really great experience, and
Again,
it was fantastic.
Lenny? You guys are getting it. I mean, I'm pretty much ready to certify you all. Because you're getting it, and more importantly, you're using it. You're not like thinking like, oh, it's a technique, and now, as you look over... It's a conversation you're having, right? It's just the conversation becomes special, and why? Because you saw her, and you were moved by the whole situation, and you wanted something good for her. Not from her. Not to show how cool you are, or for her to go, you're so cool, you're great, wow, how do you do that? No. You just wanted her to feel good, to have a moment of wonder. That was a magic moment, really, but done totally conversationally.
I did. She was really about hypnosis. She said, "Oh no, I don't like that." And so I didn't tell her later on. You went into a trance. I just kept it like that. But it was really nice to see that you can do something good for someone without them even realizing it. It was really. That's
nice. Why we do it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
That's why I created the idea of street hypnosis. Why conversational hypnosis is what it is. I mean, I can't say any better than what you guys are doing, both of you. Seriously. I hope more of you end up doing this. And you'll actually, isn't it rewarding personally doing it?
Yeah.
Well, I went to lunch yesterday, right? And I come with this Subway, and these girls are standing there, and you ask for a sandwich, and I don't know how you do it in the States here, but they just get these huge sandwiches, right? And it's more the stuff that you put on the sandwich and eating the sandwich. So the girl just slapping it like this. So I go, listen, do you have a boyfriend? She says, yeah, why? Do you go around your boyfriend handling like this? Because it's my sandwich. Treat my sandwich, right? Treat my sandwich like, yeah, you understand? So she starts to light up, and I mean, she's doing a real nice job. She gets this guy, I'm telling you, really, get the guy, who's taking over. Listen, this man, wants to do good treat and that stuff. And I said, do you have a girlfriend? He goes, yeah.
That's great. I bet it was. Handle with care, right? Over here, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that this exercise actually was one that I was dreading yesterday, only because when we were trying to do it, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I did read the manual yesterday, like you said, and still really this morning it didn't really make that much. There was some glimpses of between the clouds, but pretty much it was dark and gloomy, but again, I was comfortable knowing that I felt good, so I knew that it was coming. But the transition that took place in the exercise when I was the subject and then doing it, even though we didn't have time to finish it, became very, very clear. But the one part of the clarity was that I don't see why. In fact, I've thought about this for the last 5 minutes. I cannot see why you can't do this to yourself.
Thank you. I agree.
So this is, for some reason I was thinking yesterday somebody asked that question, he said that you'd never done that before, but maybe I got associated with another comment. But so you can do this exercise to yourself and just, because
Absolutely.
This became what you actually told me right at the break. You said just go back into it, and I did that whole thing. It was a very pleasant experience and very powerful experience.
And to be honest with you, it happens to you all the time, doesn't it? You sit at home, but normally we do it the wrong way around, right? It's called esprit d'escalier. You have an argument with someone, you're walking down the steps, and suddenly you go, aha, this is what I could do, and you run the whole thing. But instead of looping something positive, what do you end up looping? Right? So why do that to yourself? I mean, I used to do that a lot. I still do this from time to time, but luckily I'm getting better now. Go ahead, Robert.
Scott and I were working together, and when we first started, I said, I can't even think of the last time I was bored. That's
a good life. I like this.
Not something to worry about, and I have a pretty good state of wonder. So I said, would you be open to playing with something else? And he said, sure. So I had something that I wanted to work on, which was, I have a lot of experiences in my life that seemed really awful at the time, but led to something really great. And later I look back and I think, if I didn't go through that awful time, I would have never been able to fully appreciate this time.
Right.
So I said, let's loop those so I can appreciate those even more quickly. But then when we go down into trance, and he's like, okay, boom, going to count to 3, we're going to get to that moment. My unconscious mind bubbled up like a completely third thing of just this sense of adventure and having pleasure getting through chores, which was almost kind of back to the original thing. But I have a bad thing of wanting to procrastinate on some tedious things and wanting to go through this other, and we went back to like this early age and integrated all that, and it was just like a really cool, totally unexpected third thing altogether. Really.
And congratulations to Scott for actually maneuvering and going with what
he was totally flexible, went right with whatever was popping up, no sweat.
Isn't it better not having rules, just having rules enough that you know what you're doing, but then having no rules so you actually end up doing what needs to be done rather than what you should be?
Consciously, right? I had no idea what I was doing.
Of course you didn't. Do you think I have a clue what I'm doing up here? And seriously, I still wonder that you guys haven't asked for money back here, because and I look and I go, what's going on? So, well done. Great. That sounds like a really good experience. 1 second, there's one over here first. Go ahead.
Just going back on the H+, last night I just suddenly connected to an insight. The Native American shamans, they believe that when medicine isn't the herb or whatever it is that you give to somebody, that's just a means of transferring energy, and that the medicine is the connection from one person to the other. And I think that's what's going on with the H+ also.
I agree. I think, I can't remember who did this, but someone defined hypnotherapy once, I like this, as you as a therapist get to go to a place or a part of the person that they have rejected, that they think is no good, is bad, is evil, is somehow unlovable, and you appreciate it in a way that they can't yet, until they learn how they can, and then they learn how to do that for themselves. And I think that's a charming metaphor. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to get crashed before my partner emerged me. I just couldn't wait for the person to emerge me because I was going to get crashed. And I was planning what to do as soon as the person emerged me. And all was set and planned and ready. And my magic moment was running on the beach and seeing the beach for the first time when I was 2 years old. I said that when that person emerged me, I'm going to run like the wind. And I did that. I jumped off my seat and ran around the whole room. And after that, and I've seated here, then I realized that normally, say at age 52 and a half, that's my age, when I want to go jogging, I would have to stretch my Achilles tendon and do a bit of stretching so I won't get hamstring pull or anything like that, or stiffness or anything. I can't remember any of those things. I just impromptu ran very fast around, and now I'm sitting here, I say, hey, I really felt like a 2-year-old, and really, really good.
That's great.
Now, when you're talking of energy medicine, I proved it.
Perfect. All right, guys, just one more comment and we'll move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know this is a regression technique.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with, we're searching for a known resource in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But it reminds me of timeline therapy,
mm-hmm.
where you go into the future and search for an unknown resource and then try to reintegrate it to the present and bring back your past self and reintegrate the unknown resource to the present.
Hey, you can do all of this. Now that you can, the important thing is you can navigate through time now, right? Erickson used to do this, actually, with clients he didn't have a clue what to do with. He'd future orient them, go into the future to a point in time when they've resolved the problem. Then he'd ask them, what did we do that got to this point where, you're healthy and happy and everything's working well? Please describe it to me step by step. Then he'd take studious notes. And when the person came out of trance and said, okay, I think the first thing you should do is... right? So, exactly, you have range. This exercise wasn't just about, especially getting used to playing with time and doing things with it. What you do with it in the end is up to you. Like, you're finding out more and more of you are switching it around to what suits you. The key thing is, can you get an experience? Can you follow the affect bridge back, or you want to do it forward as well? Can you make something of it that's useful, and have an interaction with the unconscious so that the person ends up being somehow better than they started off with. That's the key thing. Once you have that experience, we'll go on to the actual how to use this therapeutically, because this wasn't therapeutic yet, right? It may feel great, but we haven't actually done any change work yet. So that's what you still have coming. It's something for you to look forward to. So great. And by the way, any experiences you've had in other things, bring them in. If it works, it works. It's about you having more skills, more resources, more tools in your toolkit as a therapist so you can get the job done. That's what it comes down to. Can you get the job done? Right?